Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. Today's project is this slot and tab lock style box. This is a 3-inch cube, but you will see as we put the project together that as long as you consider the placement of the slot on the lid and the placement of the tab on the front panel, you could add this style of closure to any size box that you want to make. It doesn't have to be a cube. So without further ado, let's put the project together.
The first piece you'll need is for the base, and this is 3 inches by 3 inches. You'll then need 2 pieces for what will be the left and right hand side of the box.
And these will be 3 inches times 4 inches. And along the 4-inch side, score at 1/2 inch and 3.5 inches. You'll then need a piece for the back of the box, and this is going to be 4 inches times 3.5 inches. And on 3 sides only, score at 1/2 inch. So you'll have one side which doesn't have a score line. The next piece is for the front. This is 4 inches by 4 inches. Score along one of the 4-inch sides at 1/2 inch and 3.5 inches, and place a pencil mark along the top edge at 1.5 and 2.5 inches. Rotate so that your score lines are running horizontally top and bottom, and score at 1/2 inch. Then take your ruler and line your ruler up with the 3.5 inch track. Take a pencil and draw a pencil line down to 1.5 inches, and then from 2.5 inches down to the bottom of the cardstock. So you'll end up with a piece which looks like this. For the lid, you'll need a piece which is 3 3/4 times 3 inches, and along the 3 3/4 inch side, score at 1/2 inch. Take your ruler and line your ruler up with the 3.5 inch track. Make sure your ruler is running vertically and draw a line down like so. Then on the line, make a pencil mark at 5/8 of an inch, 7/8 of an inch, 2 1/8 of an inch, and 2 3/8 of an inch. Rotate the piece so the tab's at the bottom, and just mark on the top edge at 5/8 of an inch and 2 3/8 of an inch, like so. So those are all the pieces that we need. So this is our base square. So to this, we're going to add all of our sides. So we'll start with the 2 pieces, which were the 3 by 4 inch pieces. So we're going to fold and burnish. From one of the 1/2 inch sides, we're going to take a wedge from either end. So one of the sides is going to be the glue tab to add the side into the base, and the other is going to be a support for the lid. Now, obviously, bear in mind this box is only 3 inches wide, and this support is 1/2 inch. So if you prefer, you could cut this down to say 1/4 inch, so you've got a support for your lid, but it's not as wide. So if you want to do that, you can, and obviously now, before you stick the piece in, is the time to do that. So I'm going to take a wedge off of both of those. Now, as you can see, if you can see the sizes of the pieces we've cut, you can see how easy it would be for you to resize this particular box to suit whatever you need. So I'm going to add my glue onto these 2 tabs to start with and secure these 2 sides into place. Next, we're going to take the back panel. This is the piece which was 4 times 3. So again, fold and burnish along all of the score lines. We're going to remove the left and right hand intersecting squares. So the 1/2 inch sections we're left behind at the sides, this is going to be the base glue tab and the side glue tabs. So I'm going to take a wedge from all of those and I'm going to secure this into the back using the base glue tab. So that sits nice and squarely in the back like so. Next, bring in your front piece. That's this piece here. So we're going to fold and burnish along all of the score lines. I'm going to remove the bottom left and right hand intersecting corners. Take a wedge from the base glue tab. Rotate your piece, and what I'm going to do is from the pencil mark, I'm going to cut down to the pencil line like so. So we're creating our tab that our lid is going to slot over, and I'm then going to cut along the pencil line to remove the sections either side of that like so. Okay, and then take a wedge from the ends of the side glue tabs. So that's our piece. Now I am, because of personal preference, going to round off the top of this tab, and now we're going to add glue to the base glue tabs. Add this in onto the base as we've done with all the other pieces, and then we will add glue to the side glue tabs for the back and this front piece, pull up the sides and complete the cube. And then I'm going to add glue. I'll use my construction glue for this so I can add the glue to both glue tabs at the same time, and it will give me the time to work. And then I'm going to pull up the sides and secure the sides, secure the front and back panels like so. So that is essentially the box, and now we're going to add in the lid. The first thing I'm going to do is lift up the support sections, and what will be the back of the box, I'm just going to slightly take some off of there because we need our hinge for our lid to fit down inside. So I'm going to take a slither away off of the end, and then I can always come back and shape it a little bit more if I need to, but it's going to give me a starter like so. So I've just shaped those slightly so that they come inwards, and then we should find that we've got space to fit our hinge in at the back. So we're now going to prepare the lid, and we want the lid to end up looking like this. And I'm going to cover as much of this as I can in the pattern paper. So obviously I want to add that on before I cut my slot. So we'll start by preparing this. So we'll fold and burnish along the score line. And then we're going to take a wedge from the ends of this. This is going to be our hinge. Turn your piece around so all your pencil marks are facing you. And we're going to cut from the pencil marks at the top edges down to our 1/4 inch pencil line like so. So we'll cut those either side. And then I'm going to rotate and cut up the pencil line to remove those sections. Like so. Now we're going to be cutting a slot, as I said, between these two pencil lines, but the first thing I want to do is add it on my pattern paper. So my pattern paper is 2 3/4 times 3 inches, and along the top edge I've made a pencil mark at 5/8 of an inch and 2 1/8 of an inch. and then I've marked down from the top edge at 1/4 inch. So that's this line here. I'm going to cut that the same way that we did the actual lid itself. And so that is going to sit on there like so. And then we'll cut the slot in between. So we'll have to remark where the slot is. So I'm going to stick that into place and let that dry. So I've just rounded off these corners by hand. I would have preferred to round off the corners of these pattern paper as well, but I thought about it after the event, so that can stay as it is. So once we're happy, I'm going to have to redraw the marks now. So I'm going to line my ruler up along the top, with the top edge like so, and we're going to draw a pencil line between 7/8 of an inch and 2 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to go in and cut the slot with my craft knife, and I want to make sure that the slot is wide enough to go over the tab and any pattern paper that I decide to add on the tab. So that's that side. Spin this around and do the same, the other side of the pencil line, and then my slot should be plenty wide enough. So that's the lid. Before I stick the lid in place, I'm just going to make sure that the hinge is going to fit in the back, which it will do, and then that is going to come down over the front and will slot in place like so. So that's how the lid is going to sit. Now, what you could do before you stick the lid in place is just turn the piece over onto its front and score across the tab so that when the lid's on, the tab can fold forward and lock the piece into place. So I'm going to do that now. So I'll take my stylus. You might not want to do this, you might be happy with how the piece looks. I'm going to work on the inside, but I'm not going to be able to show you. So I'm going to line my ruler up like so, and then just score straight across there. So if I bend that forward, now, once we've stuck the lid in, the lid can come over and that can just slot forward like so. So we can now put the lid in. So just fold the hinge back in both directions. I've added glue onto the back of the hinge. I'm going to move the two tabs out of the way, and I'm going to flip my lid over and just sit the score line on top of the ledge of the box, just to make sure that that's sitting in the right place. I can burnish that down with my fingers. Going with my score tool and just burnish that down, and then that is going to flip over the top. You can see now whether you're going to need to adjust the angle on your ledges at all. And I'm just going to straighten this one up. It's got a bit of a strange angle going on. So that is going to come over the top and is going to slot over like so, and then that is going to slot over the top in place. So now it's just a case of adding your decorative paper on. So I'll get on with that and then I'll give you the sizes that you need. I've now added on all of the pattern paper. So we've got sides which are 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And for the front piece, I'll just show you what I did here. So this is 2 3/4 times 3 1/4. So along the top 2 3/4 inch side, measure and make a mark at 1 inch and 1 3/4 inches, like so. And then we're going to measure, if you move those pencil marks over to the left, we're going to measure down the top and the bottom at 1/2 inch, like so. So if we join these two 1/2 inch lines up, We're then going to cut from the 2 pencil marks at the top down to those 1/2 inch lines and cut that section away, and then that is going to sit on there like so. So that's how you would do the front piece if you want to include the tab within your pattern paper. So this box is effectively ready for any additional ephemera that you might want to put on it. So as you can see, it will be very easy to change up the size of this box. All you need to do is that when you work out the front and the lid, your slot is going to correspond with the placement of your tab. So there we have our project for today. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.